Okay, I think we're recording. Yes. Hello, welcome. It is 2025 and I want to walk through my reading goals for this year. So I intend to only read my physical TBR for the year of 2025. I have enough books. I really don't need to buy any more because as a slow reader, I generally only get through 2 to 3 novels a month. And that means that's like roughly 24 to 28-ish books a year. So I have more than 28 books. Like I have this shelf, I have a shelf over there. I probably have books hidden in places I don't even realize. Actually, while I'm filming this, you're stacked on some books as well. So I definitely have more than enough. And yeah, this is the year where I think I want to just slow down with book buying, just read the things I already have. If there is a new release that I'm like really hyped about, I'm going to try to wait until it gets released in like paperback or I can get it online through the library. And that's that. Unless a friend or family member gifts me a book, I will not be purchasing any new books for the new year. Wow, you heard it here first. Let's just walk through the physical TBR that I have. Guess, where should I start? I probably should have picked these out first. You know what? I'm gonna pick these out and then we will talk about them. Oh yeah, I should mention, I'm picking out 25. These are the 25 I really want to get to, so. Okay, I can't pick all of these up, but I'm just gonna do a little, like, lift up, okay? So, we have 25 books. Let's talk about them. First up, perhaps surprisingly, I have A Court of Thorn and Roses. My friend recommended it to me, and I'm filming a little series on this channel where I'm reading books that my friends recommend.
It's really parkour character development where you're like, I don't know what's happening.
And she loves this series so much. I mean, she could not praise it more. I need to give it a try. I need to break out of my barriers of just reading the books that I want to read and just see what it's like. So I picked this up. We will get potentially a scathing review, I don't know, but I am curious. I would also like to read The House in the Cerulean Sea. My coworker lent this out to me and he gave it to me in, I think, beginning of November. And oh my gosh, like almost weekly, he'd be like, so what do you think of the book? And I just hadn't started it yet. I was busy reading my other stuff, you know? And I just feel so guilty that I have not gotten to this, that January, I need to get through this and give it back. I don't want to be the person that borrows a book and just hold on to it forever. Like, and I was realizing how easy it is to become that person and just keep it on my shelf. So no, we're gonna read this and we're gonna give it back. Then we have If We Were Villains. This, I've heard so many good things about it. I did want to read it in 2024 and then it just never got pushed to the priority list, should I say. It's a dark academic novel taking place at a university. I think the students are all studying Shakespeare and there's a murder that happens among this small cohort of students. And yeah, I heard it's suspenseful. I heard there's unreliable narration. Good stuff. Maybe in line with that, I want to read Blackwater. I picked this up in Amsterdam. This seems to be a horror novella, and it's a series, so this is the first in the novella series. And yeah, it's about this small town where there's a flooding that happens, and then a strange young woman appears who's rather seductive. Then, oh, I already started reading this for January. This is A Dark and Drowning Tide, one of my most anticipated reads of 2024, and I did not find a copy of this until I went to Amsterdam. And then there it was in the bookstore and I had to take it because look at this cover. Oh, beautiful. Unfortunately, I hate the writing style in this. It is like rotting my brain, and I'm trying to say that as gently as possible, but this is your classic telling instead of showing. Because the cover is so gorgeous, I will keep trying. As if that's any like merit for how good the rest of the novel is. I will keep trying. It's like a murder mystery, very low on the mystery element, very low on like the sapphic element too. This is promoted as like a sapphic novel. And I just don't find any chemistry between the two girls. It's, God, it's bad. But I'm gonna finish it. I need to know how it ends, you know? Alright, then we have, in more positive light, another book I've been reading for January. Also a book I picked up in Amsterdam. This is The Black Lake. This is a Dutch classic novel, published in the 1940s, I think. And it's quite short. I think I'm halfway. Yeah, it takes place in Indonesia. Very good character writing. It's written in the first person. It's a very reflective narrator. He's much older, but he's looking back at his younger self. And I love books like that. They just have this very wise tone, if that makes sense. Then we have The Kite Runner, also picked up in Amsterdam. It's a really well-known book, and for good reason. This is a really moving novel. I mean, it absolutely breaks you because of how sad it gets, but the depiction of friendship in this novel, particularly male friendship, is beyond anything I've ever read, and it's a book I feel like every young adult needs to read. And I'm gonna reread it.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
Then we have The Memory Police. Oh, this book is already so good. I started this. I'm about like, how many pages? I'm on chapter 6. So it's like 40, yeah, page 40. And this book just pulls you in. It's a Japanese dystopian sci-fi novel. This was a finalist for the International Booker Prize, and I can see why. It's just so well written. In comparison to A Study in Drowning, this book is just like miles ahead. I really am loving this writing style. Incredibly immersive. It's building in tension. It's very mysterious with these like memory police and what's going to happen to our protagonist. We don't know, but oh, very cool. Then I have a book from Sasha Stanisic. For those that don't know, I guess he's not very well known outside of Germany. Maybe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but he published a really impactful novel on migration literature, which happened to be the topic of my master's thesis. So I completely devoured his first book, which was Herkunft. Or maybe it's not even his first book, but that was like the first book that really pushed him to the front of the German literary canon. It was just amazing, really tackling like how does migration impact your sense of home, your sense of self. Very cool themes that he would dissect, and he would do it in such a poetic way. And this is his newest novel, so I'm curious about it. It is in German, and I find that really like poetic adult, like literary novels in German are difficult for me to get through. Very similar to with like Hermann Hesse, for example. I have to read it much more slowly to fully let it sink in. But I'm curious about this one. I mean, the title is very interesting. It's Möchte die Witwe angesprochen werden, platziert sie auf dem Grab die Gießkanne mit dem Ausguss nach vorne. Like if the widow would like to be talked to, she will place on the grave what's a Gießkanne? The thing where you water plants.
Disbelief, Claire. Just disbelief.
That, it's terrible. I know. I cannot. People say, like, if you're multilingual, like, wow, you must be so smart. No, I cannot translate in the moment. I'm sorry. But I will put the title here. Then we have, oh, this is a long time in the making for me to read. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Look at this cover. Oh, the snake. It's so cool. I really don't know if I would get a tattoo, but if I would, it would be some sort of like snake design, because I think the scales and the flow is just so beautiful. This is a book I bought right when it came out. I got the hardcover release, and I never really got that into it. I think it's one of those books where you just have to give it a bit of time, and I was not giving it its due time. This is Bardugo's first, I believe, adult novel. So she previously had written YA, but let's be real, like Six of Crows does not really read like a YA novel. But in any case, it was her first fantasy adult debut, and it's gotten quite good recognition. This is, I believe, a duology, potentially a trilogy. I know there's the other novel with the bunny on it that looks all messed up, and I want to read that as well, but I don't own the physical copy, so let's just make this the goal for now. Then we have a book that I just got for my birthday from my mom. It's called The Golden Gate. It appears to be a mystery novel, so this takes place in Berkeley, California. which is so cool because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so these places are all familiar to me. Like, I've been to Berkeley so many times, and the year is 1944, and there was a former presidential candidate that gets assassinated at a hotel. And there's our main characters, the detective Al Sullivan. He has an investigation then at the hotel, but then he starts to uncover the death of another person that took place 10 years earlier over there. And somehow it's all connected, and yeah, it just seems to be taking place in the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, it's called the Golden Gate, and you can even see on the cover the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, which is pretty cool. I feel like this will be a bit heartwarming to read. In some ways, I do miss California. I mean, there's just a certain atmosphere to the San Francisco Bay Area. The people are so friendly and warm, typically. Yeah. Anyways, this is the next read. Then we have The Fury, also in a similar line. This is a detective novel. This is a thriller murder mystery. It's narrated by one of the suspects. So he's on an island with his like rich movie star friends. He himself is a screenplay writer job. He gets invited to go to this Greek island, a private Greek island, and a murder takes place there, and he's sort of recounting what happens. I've gone a little bit through the beginning. It's not bad, but the writing style is really pulling me out of the story. I think it's just, in terms of the writing, it's not for me. Plot and characters sounds pretty cool so far. This reminded me a lot of the Knives Out murder mystery, like just so far the atmosphere and the people. And I love the Knives Out murder mystery series. It's giving that kind of vibe, so I do want to finish it. And I think I also selected this as one of my book club books, so hopefully more people can give insight into that one. Then we have The Safekeep. This is a historical novel. I think it takes place in the Netherlands in the 1940s, I believe. Oh, this is a cool detail. I didn't notice this before, but this is like, in the Netherlands, these style of tiles are very famous. So that's a cool detail. Wow. I love like book design, and I just think there's so much thought that goes into it, or should go into it at least, and when it's executed well, it's just so noteworthy. Let's see, there's a rural Dutch province. There are bomb craters that have been filled, so I guess it's after World War II. And there's a woman called Isabel. She's living a nice life in the countryside, but all is upended when her brother Louis delivers his graceless new girlfriend Eva at Isabel's doorstep as a guest. Things start to get a bit strange, and Isabel becomes paranoid, and it just has a suspenseful sort of sound to it. And I've also heard it's kind of gay, so maybe she'll steal her boyfriend's girlfriend away. I don't know. Then we have another, oh my gosh, this is like a Dutch novella. This is published by one of my former classmates. So I went to University of Amsterdam, and he was in a few of my lectures, and he published a novella. It was really cool. When I saw it on Instagram, I asked if I could get a copy, and he sent it to me. I did start this already, but keep in mind, this is in Dutch, and like my Dutch is not very good, but because I know German and English, like those two together, you can sort of like read it, which is strange. Like if I hear Dutch spoken, particularly very fast, I can't understand it, but if I'm reading it, I can sort of read it as if it's like tweaked German, you know, like, and I'm sure Dutch people can do the same going from Dutch reading German. I've been annotating a lot, and as you can see, there's many words that I don't know. So I'm going through this slowly, but I just think it's so cool that a classmate of mine ended up publishing this. I really should finish it more quickly, because then I can write back and give some feedback and insights. But yeah, it would be really cool to like have him come on the channel, and I could interview like his writing process and stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Then we have My Father's Notebook. This seems to be about a young man who's rereading his father's notes, and his father was like a Persian nobleman, and through reading and decoding the notes, he starts to learn more about his father's life. So seems interesting. And the author, he ran away from Iran. He became a refugee in the Netherlands, and now he publishes in Dutch. So this is a novel translated from Dutch. Then we have Julia Fox's biography. I'm everywhere, I'm so Julia. I feel like I'll say that every time. This is another book that my friend recommended. I really don't know what to expect. I think she has a wild life. I mean, just look at the cover. Crazy. Next up we have Dark Rise. I know I love this because I already started this on audiobook. Oh, so many cool characters. I'm loving the world building, the pacing, the suspense. Maybe I'm speaking too soon, but all of the elements are there and they are cooking together, okay? This is a full, like, soup on a cold winter's day, okay? This is satisfying all of my needs. We have a boy called Will. He's on the run. Some strange people catch up to him and sort of kidnap him. He's told that he's like a bit of a prophet. I don't know. It's like your typical YA of like, you are the chosen one. He's like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. And then like he saves the world probably. I don't know. But it's right up my alley, okay? Then we have Swimming in the Dark. This is a Polish novel. It gets great reviews. I've heard this is pretty heartbreaking. It's a queer novel about a young boy who meets another guy working in the fields in Poland, and they have a sort of idyllic summer, but then summer obviously ends and the real life begins, and they kind of, I guess, get separated, or maybe worse. I don't know. Maybe someone dies by the end, but in any case, it's well known for its beautiful writing, so I am ready to immerse myself in the tragic summer of it all. Ooh, then we have another horror novel. This is The Fisherman. I've really been meaning to read this. I think I bought this like end of August, and I was like, I'm gonna read this for the fall. I'm gonna read it for like October, the spooky vibes, you know? And then I didn't. What's up with that? I don't know. So I would like to read The Fisherman. This seems to be a creepy novel where a man, he's a fisherman, of course, and there's something lurking in the water, and I guess he's a widower, and maybe it has to do with his dead wife. I don't know. The premise is pretty vague, but it sounds creepy enough and something I could indulge in. Let's talk about another fantasy novel on my TBR list, which is Swordcatcher. This book just, it sounds like everything I want in a fantasy novel. The premise seems to be there's this orphaned boy who gets picked up by, I don't know, the king's council or some person working for the monarchy, because he looks very similar to the prince, and they're like, hey, you're gonna be what's called the sword catcher. Like, you're gonna be the prince's double, like body double. So if there's ever an assassination attempt, you would get killed first. And I think there's some sort of complex relationship between this guy who's impersonating the prince and the actual prince. I think they become friends, and obviously this brings the transactional relationship into jeopardy because one guy's role is to die for the other while the other just gets to live a very luxurious life. So in any case, I think there's more to it. There is a failed assassination attempt, and this sort of springs the whole story into action. But yeah. Cassandra Clare. Then we have Billy and Me. This is the final book that my friend recommended among the 3 recommendations that I asked her, and it is a romance novel. I just don't vibe with romance usually, but I will give this one a try. I'm ready to be pleasantly surprised. You know, just like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I ended up really loving. Still not done, but in terms of the romance, I'm really liking it. So we will give this one a fair chance. Then I have Miss Kim Knows. This is a collection of short stories from Cho Nam-ju. She writes incredibly. I mean, also should be a great thanks to her translators who can really capture her words so beautifully. She has such a simple writing style, but she always reaches these sort of slow epiphanies. Like by the end of her short stories, the characters will sort of have this realization that you as the reader also start to feel slowly wash over you. And it's always rather touching, always has a hint of like a feminist like manifesto behind it, which I love. She's really dedicated to shining a light on the sort of unequal, unfair treatment that women have living in Korea. And yeah, I'm really impressed with her work, so I'm excited to get through her short story collection. Guys, we are down to the last 3. Are you still with me? Are you still here? Okay, great. Next, we have Maurice. This was on my fall TBR list. I never really got through it. I did start the first few chapters, and it's very much giving, you know, a classic where sometimes we go on long tangents about seemingly insignificant details or the dialogues at the dinners. My God, they can get very long as well. But, you know, it's all about immersing yourself in the time, feeling how these people were feeling. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. Also, this is a really interesting insight into queer history in the UK, so I will get through this in 2025. Then we have another British novel in it. We have Emma by Jane Austen. I am 27 years old and I have not dabbled into Austen besides Pride and Prejudice, of course, but come on now. I mean, it feels rather shameful to not know much Austen at all. And I studied literature as well, so I really should know more Jane Austen. That was sort of the driving force for my reason behind picking this. I just arbitrarily picked Emma. I saw it in the English book section. I was like, let's give it a try. I actually don't know anything about this book. I do know they made a film adaptation recently, and it had, oh, what's her name? Anna Taylor-Joy in it. I just think it'll be a nice way to dive into Austen and get some classical vibes in my book brain collection. And lastly, this is a rather random note to finish, I feel like, but we have a sci-fi novel by Anton Her. Oh my gosh, if you guys know the sort of Korean book community, Anton Her should not be an unfamiliar name because he translated Love in the Big City by Sung-Yun Park, and I love this book. Obviously, Anton Her did not write it himself. These are the words of someone else, but given the projects that Anton Her works on, I mean, he's worked on countless translations for Korean authors. I'm anticipating that Towards Eternity is going to be a really interesting debut from him. So normally he just translates novels. This is his first time writing and publishing one himself. This seems to be a sort of discussion, maybe a Jurassic Park-esque discussion about like abusing science, and like I think there's some sort of immortality discussions going on in here. So yes, that covers, oh my gosh, those are, woohoo! Those are 25 books I would like to read in 2025. I think it's actually realistic. I think I could get through all of these, and I'm really excited to do a bit more of a deep dive with you guys. And now that you know the entire list here, it'll be cool because now you get to see my actual insight into each of these books as I navigate them through 2025. I hope you have a lovely reading year. I hope this sets the tone for going into 2025, and I hope we all have some great reads coming up. All right, that's it from me. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.